Imagine being so powerful that your face is on every wall. Your name is in every speech. People clap when you enter the room, and not because they're impressed, but because they'd like to continue existing. Now imagine your final moment is underground, on the run, in a drainage pipe, or dying alone while everyone is too afraid to check on you. Absolute power looks permanent. History disagrees. Let's talk about how some of the most brutal rulers of the modern era rose, ruled, and ultimately fell. Adolf Hitler didn't just lead a country. He built a state engineered around racial obsession, territorial expansion, and the systematic elimination of entire groups of people. This wasn't impulsive brutality. It was policy. From the moment he came to power in 1933, the regime moved methodically. Political opponents were arrested, trade unions dissolved, the press censored, courts reshaped, loyalty demanded. Democracy didn't collapse overnight. It was dismantled piece by piece, paperwork first. Then came the racial laws, citizenship stripped, rights erased, businesses confiscated, neighbors turned into informants. Hatred became legislation, and eventually legislation became extermination. Under his rule, 6 million Jews were murdered in the Holocaust. Millions more Roma, disabled people, Slavic civilians, political dissidents, LGBTQ individuals were imprisoned, enslaved, or killed. Concentration camps expanded. Killing centers industrialized death. Railways scheduled deportations with terrifying efficiency. There were forms, files, stamps, clerks, mass murder, processed like administration. That's what makes it so chilling. It wasn't chaotic rage. It was organized. Then came the war. In 1939, Germany invaded Poland. Britain and France responded. And suddenly Europe was on fire. France fell. Bombs rained on London. The Soviet Union was invaded. North Africa became a battlefield. The United States joined after Pearl Harbor. World War II became the deadliest conflict in human history. Over 60 million people died. Cities like Warsaw, Stalingrad, and Berlin were reduced to rubble. The regime that promised order delivered destruction on a global scale. And yet, by early 1945, the situation had flipped. The Red Army was advancing from the east. American and British forces were pushing from the west. German supply lines were collapsing. Air raids hammered cities nightly. The 1,000-year Reich had lasted 12. In April 1945, Berlin was encircled. Explosions shook the streets above. And the man who demanded unwavering loyalty was underground, in a concrete bunker beneath the Reich Chancellery. He held meetings around maps that showed divisions that barely existed anymore. He issued orders to units that had already been destroyed. He blamed generals for failure. He blamed the German people for weakness. He blamed fate. The one thing he did not blame was himself. In his final days, his physical condition had deteriorated. Witnesses described shaking hands, erratic moods, alternating between fury and resignation. Still, the illusion of control was maintained inside the bunker. On April 29, 1945, as artillery thundered overhead, he married Eva Braun in a small midnight ceremony. It was surreal. The city was collapsing. And below ground, paperwork was being signed. The next afternoon, April 30th, he said brief farewells to those remaining. Around 3:30 p.m., he and Eva retreated to private quarters. He ended his life rather than face capture. Eva died beside him. Outside, the war continued. There was no grand broadcast, no final address to the nation, no dramatic speech, just the muffled sound of artillery. The bodies were burned in the garden above as Soviet shells fell nearby. The empire that promised eternal dominance ended in smoke and concrete. And here's the ultimate irony. He built a regime obsessed with legacy, monuments, symbols, banners, grand architecture meant to last centuries. In the end, he died underground, in a bunker, while the city he claimed to protect was collapsing around him. No 1,000-year empire. No victorious finale, just silence. History moved forward without him. Benito Mussolini pioneered fascism in Europe. He crushed political opposition, censored the press, invaded Ethiopia using chemical weapons, allied Italy with Nazi Germany, promised a new Roman Empire. Instead, he led Italy into military disaster. By 1945, Italy had turned on him. He tried to escape disguised in a German coat. That's quite the downgrade from balcony speeches about glory. He was captured by partisans, executed, and here's the brutal irony. Months earlier, his regime had publicly displayed the bodies of executed opponents in Milan. After his death, his body was displayed in the same city. History doesn't always return the favor, but sometimes it does. Very directly, Joseph Stalin ruled the Soviet Union through terror. Under his regime, millions were sent to labor camps, Gulag. Political purges executed rivals. Intellectuals disappeared. Military leaders were eliminated. Famine policies contributed to millions of deaths. People whispered. Neighbors feared each other. Even high-ranking officials expected arrest at any moment. He built a state where everyone was afraid. Now here's the twist. In 1953, after a night of drinking, Stalin suffered a stroke. His guards suspected something was wrong, but they were terrified to enter his room without permission, because that's the climate he created. By the time they checked, he'd been lying there for hours. The system of fear delayed saving the man who built it. Public mourning followed his death. Privately, many quietly exhaled. Pol Pot led Cambodia's Khmer Rouge. His idea was radical. Reset society to year zero. No cities. No intellectuals. No professionals. Under his rule, up to 2 million people died. Forced labor camps. Executions. Starvation. Families torn apart. People were killed for wearing glasses, because that suggested education. He tried to engineer a perfect society. Instead, he engineered mass suffering. When Vietnam invaded and removed him from power, he fled to the jungle. For nearly 20 years, he lived in hiding. No palace, no parades, just a hut. In 1998, he died in his sleep before facing trial. No courtroom, no verdict. Just history, closing a chapter quietly. Rafael Trujillo ruled the Dominican Republic like it was a family business, except the family business involved secret police, assassinations, torture, a massacre of thousands of Haitians. He renamed cities after himself. That's a bold branding move. But fear creates enemies. In 1961, conspirators blocked his car on a highway. Former allies, former insiders. He tried to fight back. But within minutes, it was over. The man who controlled everything lost control of one road. Nicolae Ceaușescu ruled Romania with harsh censorship, secret police surveillance, severe economic mismanagement, food shortages while he built massive palaces. He televised speeches praising progress. Citizens stood in bread lines. In 1989, protests erupted. He tried to flee by helicopter, captured within hours. 3 days later, a rushed trial, a guilty verdict, a firing squad, from total authority to execution in less than a week. That's history accelerating. Muammar Gaddafi ruled Libya for 42 years. Oil wealth, political repression, support for militant movements, extravagant public image. In 2011, rebellion erupted. His convoy was bombed. He fled and hid in a drainage pipe. From gold-plated tents to concrete tube, captured on cell phone video. The footage spread instantly worldwide. Modern dictators don't just fall. They trend. Saddam Hussein ruled Iraq with secret police, chemical weapon use, suppression of uprisings, brutal crackdowns on dissent. After capture, he faced trial. Unlike some others, he stood before a court. He was sentenced to death. His execution was filmed and leaked. Some saw justice. Others saw chaos. But one thing was certain. His rule was finished. Augusto Pinochet ruled Chile after a military coup. Thousands were tortured. Many disappeared. Opposition silenced. Later in life, he faced arrest and charges. But legal battles and health claims prevented conviction. He died at 91, never serving prison time. For many, that felt incomplete. History doesn't always deliver clean endings. Here's what ties these together. Absolute power looks permanent. It never is. Fear creates silence, not loyalty. Violence builds unstable foundations. Time eventually catches everyone. Some die violently. Some die in hiding. Some die in comfort. But none escape history's judgment. Power fades. Consequences remain. And if this breakdown helps you understand not just how power rises, but how it collapses, make sure you subscribe to History Simplified. Because history isn't just dates and names. It's power. It's consequences. It's lessons most people ignore until it's too late. Drop a comment below. Which historical figure should we break down next? And if you want more deep dives into how empires rise and how they fall, you're in the right place. History Simplified.